while discussing the personal characteristics, the individual characteristics of speech production, you may remember that we talked about the articulatory movement control by individuals. And then we also discussed that some of the issues, an example was assimilation, that these are not covered within the feature hierarchy, right? So the point is that how do we have different delivery or the individual level differences? What's the justification of individual level differences? And in this session, we would particularly focus on the role of memory, that how the role of memory in speech influence the, the output, the performance of the individual, right? So the point is that different speakers, they produce different productions, they produce different speeches, different, variations in the production of speech, right? So that's the point, that how different productions are, as an output given to us as the part of a community. And then how can we describe that, right? So the first point is that the vocal tract physiology, while describing what is done by articulators and how it is done, right? So the physiology tells us that there are various habits, and speakers at individual level, at private level, they have different habits of speech, right? So that's something related to the habit, first of all. And then we can further comment on the lack of phonetic invariance, right? That's an important discussion within phonetics. And you might have heard one phrase, invariability of variability, right? Although there is a variable of speech sound at personal level, but is a general concept in a community, and in order to communicate with the other members of the community, that's considered invariable, because we discount those little private personal variations within the speech production, right? And that's because of the shared phonetic knowledge, right? Since within a community there is the major bulk of language that's based on the shared phonetic knowledge, right? So when the shared phonetic knowledge is known to everyone, and it is known to everyone, and the example is IPA, right, or a feature hierarchy, right? So those are the points which are known to every member of the community. So they would focus on that shared part of the speech system and that community, right? Then the speakers at individual level, they have great range available to them, right? They can produce with various variations, right? With lots of variations for their, production. And that's something which is, which may be understood while focusing on the phonetic capabilities of human beings, that we can produce one sound differently. And that ability and capability of human beings, they enable us to create variation, right? So therefore, a great range of speech production is available, right? And how can we explain that within a specific language, right, the phonetic implementation rules are applied, right? That's because of the range available. Because within a language, the sounds are limited, right? Their phonotactics are limited. By describing a language, we can predictably, give a calculated set of rules that which sound can take place at which part of the word, at which part of the syllable, right? So that's something which is related to the implementation rules, the phonetic implementation rules, right? Since great range is available to speakers, but they are bound to focus within a specific language, having a specific speech sound system, on the basis of their shared knowledge, to calculate within a specific language that what's spoken by the speaker, right? And that's the plus point with human beings, right? Then the phonetic invariance is also an important point, and there are universal aspects of this phonetic invariance, right? Because while focusing on the phonetic invariance, we can predict that there are specific sounds possible, right? And therefore, the human beings, they can, within a specific language, they can calculate and they can think from the IPA level universal set of speech that what is possible in their own language, right? And then how they are using that specific phonetic, capabilities in order to achieve a specific phonetic targets, right? Because the targets are limited. The targets are those specific phonemes within a specific language, right? And one example which I can put here is that if you remember the VOT discussion, the voice onset time, then we realized that the Navajo language had quite long VOT, quite long aspiration of the per sound, right? It was around 130 millisecond, right? That was the longest one within the given set of languages, right? So what is that? That shows us that the phonetic features, they are having language-specific tendencies, language-specific possibilities. And then there are some complications with the phonetic implementation rules also, like how can we describe the specific features of a language when we have this limit on phonetic variability, right? But the point is that humans are, by nature, they are equipped with, and that's why they are called the homoloquent, right? They are homoloquent. They have the capabilities to reduce specific features and focus on something which is shared to everyone in the community of the speakers of the same language, right? So that is something which gives us justification that how human speech is invariable, although it is variable at individual level.